What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with RK Outpost, and one of the huge problems we have in mainstream comics right now is it is full of people who cannot handle it if anyone has an opinion that differs from them in any way, shape, or form, and they use their power and influence to try to cancel that person, to try to take food off of their table, to try to put them out in the streets because they don't think exactly how the other person wants them to think. And Tom King, disgraced former Batman writer Tom King, just did that today on Twitter. I want to pull it up and take a look at it. You have this article from Bounding Into Comics from John Trent right here. We should add disgraced. Former disgraced Batman writer Tom King insinuates that DC Comics artist Jae Lee is part of a hate group. And the quote hate group that he's referring to is, of course, Comicsgate. And that gets thrown around all the time. Now, if you guys have watched this channel, you know I haven't done too much stuff involved in Comicsgate. I do back several projects and things like that, but as far as the day-to-day being part of Comicsgate, I'm not really part of that fight. But when things like this happen, I have to talk about it because it's so relevant to everything else going on in entertainment. And Tom King, I say disgraced because what Tom King did on his Batman run was absolutely disgusting. It is one of the reasons that I stopped buying comic books on a regular basis because his Batman run was so sickening and disgusting to read. It just, every week it got worse and worse. I felt like Batman was just becoming a shell of himself, not a man anymore. It turned me off completely. I made it all the way through. I made it all the way through issue 50. Issue 50, the wedding, I won't go into detail about this, but I got through issue 50 and then I just put it down. And gradually I stopped buying virtually every DC comic on a weekly basis because I just felt like I was throwing my money away. Tom King is the reason that that happened. And he got pulled off of it before his run was even finished. If you remember, DC unveils new creative team for Batman comic. James Tynion, who I've been told is actually doing a great job. Lethal tells me a lot about James Tynion, the work he's doing. Thinks I should give it a try again. I guess we'll see. But Tom King got pulled early because of how poorly Batman was received and how poorly it was selling. So good job, Tom King. But back to what he did today. Former Batman writer and current co-writer for upcoming New Gods film, God, don't even get me started on that, Tom King recently took to Twitter to insinuate that DC comic artist Jae Lee is part of a, quote, hate group. The insinuation comes after DC Comics revealed Lee's variant cover for Rorschach #1 that is written by King. And this is this alternate cover. Of course, this was tweeted out. It was announced a while ago, but it was only tweeted out by DC Comics today, this morning. I gotta admit, the cover's not necessarily for me. I might not get that cover. However, great work. I'm going to show you some art from Jae Lee that he did on Cyberfrog a little bit later, but that isn't necessarily my style. But what does Tom King do? What does Tom King do? He puts this out on Twitter. Today, DC put out an alternate cover to Rorschach by Jae Lee, who has also done covers for Comicsgate, a hate group. They always say a hate group, yet they have no evidence to back it up. Exactly who does Comicsgate hate? Because it's not minorities. Comicsgate is full of a ton of minorities. It's not LGBTQ community. There's tons of people in the LGBTQ plus community in Comicsgate. So who exactly is it? They never provide any proof, any evidence. They just put this on the page and say, hey, just believe it. I'm Tom King. I work for DC. Just believe me. It's a hate group, guys. The only thing that Comicsgate hates are people like Tom King and the woke culture that is perpetuating comics, that is killing comics right now. And then listen to what he says next. DC does not consult creators on alternate covers. I reached out to them to express my deep disappointment. Reading between the lines, what do you think that means? Don't you think that means that he's mad at them for hiring this person, that he wants that person to not be on that cover anymore, to not get any more work? Disgusting, Tom King. Far as I'm concerned, this is the cover for Rorschach #1. And to be honest, if I was going to buy it, I'd probably buy this one, not knowing anything about the artists involved, just because the other one isn't necessarily my style. Now, what he's talking about is for Ethan Van Sciver's Cyberfrog, he had Jae Lee do this cover. This cover looks freaking badass. I think it looks awesome. And in fact, if you go down to it, Jae Lee Wrecked Planet comic book. 1,172 claimed. Of course, Cyberfrog Wrecked Planet is over $1 million, which is pretty insane for EVS. But that's where it's at. $1 million. Very successful. So Jae Lee decides to take money to do a cover, the same way that anyone takes any job ever. There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing hateful about that group, and Tom King should be ashamed of himself for what he has done. And in fact, look what he does several hours later. Imagine being Tom King and saying that someone is part of a hate group, accusing them of being a part of a hate group, and then putting this out. Oh, I just spoke with Jay. He's not on Twitter, didn't know Comicsgate existed, and doesn't support hate of any kind. We're all good. Best possible outcome. Are you fucking kidding me? You piece of shit. You didn't even have the decency to delete this. This has 6.5k likes. I wonder what the impressions is on this thing. How many people have seen this thing where you said that he's part of a hate group? And then you say, oh no, I misunderstood. He didn't support any hate. We're good though. Shut the fuck up. People like Tom King disgust me. Not only does his work disgust me, his work on Batman, but his actions that he has taken to try to get people canceled simply for his perception of how they feel. Because they did a cover for someone that you don't like, Tom King tries to cancel them, and that is absolutely disgusting. It is everything wrong with current mainstream comics. It is full of people like Tom King that are trying to do this, trying to purge it of anyone who doesn't think just like them. Now, if you notice, I'm wearing a shirt from Sins of the Fae. I wanted to take a moment because Buddy Lord and Xevious are doing work on Sins of the Fae. They sent me this shirt. I wanted to say thank you and give a shout out to Sins of the Fae. I'm probably going to back it in the near future here. Take a look. It's something that is just about a great story. No politics involved. They don't care what your politics are. All they care about is if you want to read what their story is all about. So I think that's really cool. I've also backed Sunsworn from my friend Red Gaze, who does some awesome stuff right here. I know other people like Rosetta Allen is doing a crowdfund. Obviously, Stephen Walton's crowdfund for the Phantom Menace Volume 1 is still going. You can still get that as well. I know other people that are going to launch theirs in the near future. And listen, the bottom line is mainstream comics right now is it is Tom King. It is people like Tom King that are running it. And I just don't see it getting any better at any point in time. I think it's just crumbling upon itself and is going to implode because it's simply not sustainable. And that kind of woke mindset that you can't handle it if people don't think exactly the way you do, and you want to take money off of their table. You want to take food off of their table, money out of their pocket because of how they think or who they associate with. That is just a joke to me, and it needs to be called out when it happens. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I will talk to you later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. I'll talk to you guys later.